You're listening to the Connected Health Podcast, where we bring together the science of functional health, the strategy of sustainable habits, and the wisdom of your body to bring your body back into balance. I'm Vanessa Cohn, your host. I'm an integrative health practitioner, nutritionist, and personal trainer. And I help men and women heal from the inside out using personalized strategies that are rooted in how your body is actually supposed to work, real clinical data, and root cause healing. I am so glad you're here. Today's episode is a part one in a two-part series about the thyroid. Right now, we're recording in January, and January is Thyroid Awareness Month. So many people are suffering from thyroid issues and are not getting the help that they exactly need. And I want to bridge the gap and help people achieve the health that they want and that they actually deserve. So many women are struggling with fatigue, weight gain, mood swings, and hair loss, only to be told that their thyroid labs look normal. And this is completely unacceptable. So many women come to me and I hear that they're dismissed on some of the symptoms that they have. And the doctors don't even do a full lab panel when it comes to the thyroid. They only test one marker. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But by the end of the episode, if you take away anything, I hope it's that you need to run a full thyroid panel every year that you go see your doctor, especially if you're dealing with issues like this. We talked about the thyroid in previous episodes, not too in-depth, so I wanted to spend the next two episodes really talking about the thyroid on a deeper level. So just to review, the thyroid is a butterfly-shaped gland in your neck, and it has many functions, including controlling your metabolism, your mood, your heart rate, your temperature, digestion, your energy. It can affect your menstrual cycle if you're female, and so much more. This is a really sensitive organ, especially for women, because women are affected more by chronic stress and autoimmune diseases. Women have to deal with more hormonal fluctuations due to their monthly cycle, due to pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, and more. Most testing that doctors will do on your annual visit, whenever you're getting your blood work done, if they even test the thyroid at all, is they only run one marker, and that marker is TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. So TSH is the primary hormone that doctors will test, and it stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. It's released not from the thyroid, but actually the pituitary gland, which is deep inside your brain. Its job is to stimulate the thyroid gland to produce the other thyroid hormones, T3 and T4, as well as to take an iodine, which is an important trace mineral that helps your thyroid function. It is a signal hormone, not an active thyroid hormone. So why in the world are doctors only testing the signaling hormone and not the full panel? What I use in my integrative health practice is when I look at blood work or lab work, I use functional or optimal ranges. Those words can be used interchangeably, but basically it means the ranges that I look for people to be in are the ones where they're going to feel optimal or feel their best when it comes to health. The standard medical system uses standard lab ranges, and that's based generally on a standard population, and the average population is not very healthy. So I like to use the optimal range. And the optimal range for thyroid hormone is 0.5 to 2. And when you go to a conventional doctor and they test your TSH, they won't take action unless it's between 5 or even closer to 10. And I just think that that is doing such a disservice to women, because women are suffering for much longer than they should, when if doctors were proactive, they could actually take action on their patient's symptoms and get them relief faster and sooner, as soon as things start to seem out of range. Why are we waiting until certain lab markers are way out of range to even start taking action? I like to take action early and fix the problem before things get worse. Another thyroid hormone is T4, or thyroxine. It's made in the thyroid gland, and it is a reserve thyroid hormone. So it keeps thyroid hormone on hand if it's needed. It is inactive because it is reserved thyroid hormone. What needs to be done is it has to be converted to T3 in order to have a function and effect and be utilized in the body. But T3 is the usable part of thyroid hormone. Optimal ranges of T4 are between 6 and 12. T3 is the active thyroid hormone. It's called triiodothyronine. Try to say that 3 times fast. 20% is made directly by the thyroid, and 80% comes from T4, which is that reserve hormone. So it's really important to have enough levels of T4 to convert to T3. And this is the hormone that's active. It takes care of your metabolic rate, your body temperature, fat burning, brain function, mood, regulates your heart rate, helps with energy production, supports your hair and your skin, and even your digestion. Optimal ranges of T3 are between 100 and 180. Now, there are free T3 and free T4 hormones that should be tested also. So free means they're unbound. It's available to be used when needed. Ideal levels of free T3 are between 3 and 4, and free T4 ideal levels are between 1 and 1.5. And we've got reverse T3, or you might see in your lab work, RT3. It's made from T4, and it blocks thyroid hormone action. What it does is it blocks T3, the regular T3, from entering cells. And remember, T3 is the active thyroid hormone that does all of the important things. So you don't want RT3 to be too high because it blocks the function of T3, which actually does all the beneficial work for our body. It is a protective survival response, so it does have a place, but we just don't want it to be working when it's not supposed to. Ideal ranges are between 9.2 and 24. If it's out of that range, it's likely that stress is the culprit. Two other markers that I want everybody to be tested on when they're getting their thyroid panel done are the antibody markers, and those are going to be TPO antibodies and TG antibodies. Thyroid peroxidase antibodies, or TPO antibodies, are really important to look at because it tells us if there's a lot of the enzyme there that attacks the thyroid. If the thyroid is being attacked, we call that an autoimmune response where the body starts to attack its own tissue. And we'll talk more about that in the second part of this series, but I also want you to know to run that on your panel as well. And then we have the TG, or thyroglobulin antibodies, and that marker tells us how much of something is attacking the protein that is used to store thyroid hormone. These antibodies can be present in the body for many years before the other markers like TSH even change. So again, I advocate for a full thyroid panel so that we can see where all of these markers are at, because oftentimes TSH, which is the only marker that most doctors test, takes a while to show changes. So you could be dealing with imbalances of these hormones or antibodies way before it'll show up on a conventional lab test. It is so important to get your full panel run. Have I convinced you yet? So let me review. When you want to go get your full thyroid panel done at your doctor's, write this down. TSH, T4, T3, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and TPO and TG antibodies. That is a really good big picture of what's going on with your thyroid. Go to your primary care provider and request this panel in completion. You're the patient. You're the one paying for care. You're the customer, in a sense, in the medical industry. So you have the right to advocate for yourself and advocate for your health and just asking for these labs to be run. If your doctor or provider is wanting a reason, you can present the list of symptoms that you're feeling, and that can sometimes be reason enough. Or if they argue that your insurance is not going to pay for it, you can actually go to an independent lab and have these done yourself. There's online labs that you can order labs for yourself, like Life Extension, Avexia, Quest, LabCorp, and you can pick and choose which markers you want to be run. You can find a holistic health practitioner like myself who can help you with the process as well. It's very simple. You don't always have to go through your PCP just to get a full look of what your thyroid panel looks like. Okay, now you know what labs to run and what markers they should be at. I want to start talking about what thyroid dysfunction looks like. So there is hypothyroidism, which is low thyroid function, and there's hyperthyroidism, which is an overactive thyroid. What it looks like to have hypothyroidism is fatigue, constipation, brain fog, cold hands and feet, depression, dry skin, rapid weight gain seemingly over a short period of time, irregular periods, hair loss, or hair thinning, and a notice of metabolism slowing down. Those are the big symptoms of hypothyroidism. So what's really interesting about hypo and hyperthyroidism and how it appears on labs is that hypo, or a underactive thyroid, your TSH is actually going to be pushing towards the higher end because your body is screaming for more thyroid hormone. So the TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, is actually going to be telling your thyroid to start producing more hormone because your thyroid is functioning lower. And on the other end, hyperthyroidism, it's going to be on the low end because the thyroid itself is overactive and pushing out too much hormone. Heading towards hypothyroidism, looking at the lab testing, these are general patterns that you might see. Your TSH is going to be above 2.5. And again, let me just reiterate this. Conventional doctors won't take action until it's over 5, 6, 7, 8, even closer to 10. And I don't think that's right for women to suffer for so long without getting help. If TSH is the only marker that is tested, you can miss thyroid disease entirely. It's one piece of the thyroid puzzle, but you need all the pieces to see a bigger picture of how the thyroid is functioning. Many people are not being treated or taken care of because only one marker is tested. Let's talk about what causes hypothyroidism. Autoimmune disease can sometimes be where it starts. So again, test all of the markers to see where the autoimmune markers are falling. In an autoimmune disease, your own immune system produces an immune response that attacks thyroid tissue. And if your thyroid tissue is being attacked and destroyed, you're more likely to have another thyroid condition. It's not always the main cause, but that's just one cause. Another cause is chronic stress and HPA axis dysfunction. So stress suppresses brain signals to the thyroid. It increases reverse T3. Remember, that's the one that blocks T3 from getting into the cell to do its job. And stress also reduces the T4 to T3 conversion. So being stressed chronically over time wears on your thyroid, wears on your whole entire body, and can lead to thyroid hypothyroidism. You might be dealing with thyroid issues if you're burned out, if you overexercise and undereat. You'll also see this pattern in very high achievers who focus so much on achieving and doing and not taking enough time to fuel their bodies and rest and take care of themselves. Another reason that hypothyroidism can happen is that T4 to T3 conversion doesn't happen very well. And just to refresh your memory, T4 is the reserve thyroid hormone that converts into T3. And T3 is the active part of the hormone that does a lot of the beneficial thyroid work in your body. So if you're not getting that converted to the hormone that actually helps you out, there's reasons behind that too. And those reasons can be inflammation, you're not eating enough, you're low in essential minerals like selenium, zinc, and iron. You are chronically ill. You've been exposed to multiple and many toxins over time. And then another reason for hypothyroidism is nutrient deficiencies. Thyroid hormone can't be produced without the right nutrient intake. The nutrients needed are iodine, selenium, zinc, iron, and B12. If you're not eating enough food or you're eating a poor diet of mostly processed foods, your thyroid's not going to be functioning at its very best. You're not going to have the raw materials to actually produce thyroid hormones so that you function better. And the pattern with these nutrients is that typically you'll see hypothyroidism with low iodine. And then on the other end, with too much iodine, you're going to have an autoimmune flare like Hashimoto's. Another reason for hypothyroidism is gut dysfunction. And we'll talk more about this in part 2, but because autoimmune thyroid problems can be a precursor to hypo or hyperthyroidism, we have to bring it up in this episode too, but we can go more in depth in the next episode. There's also a previous episode that I did about gut health and a gut health workshop on my YouTube channel where you can see visuals of what it looks like in your gut when the gut is damaged and can show up in the rest of your body. Now, the gut is important because 20% of your thyroid hormone conversion happens in your gut. So what's going on down there affects what's going on up here, which affects what's going on in the rest of your body. Things that can contribute to gut issues, which contribute to thyroid issues, are gut dysbiosis, SIBO, chronic constipation, food sensitivities, and leaky gut. Basically, when the intestinal barrier of your digestive system is compromised, it allows foreign invaders out of your digestive system into the rest of the body, affecting how it works. Another reason that you might have hypothyroidism is something called estrogen dominance. When your body has too much estrogen from extra exposure like toxins and plastics and the chemicals around us, it actually traps thyroid hormone in the bloodstream, and it lowers the free or the usable thyroid. So the unbound thyroid hormone, free T3 and free T4 that's floating around, there's less of that to use when there is estrogen dominance. What causes estrogen dominance? There's so many things. Birth control is one of them. Pregnancy and postpartum, perimenopause can cause this, as well as poor liver detoxification. There's lots of causes of hypothyroidism. We've just got a couple more. Another one of them is infections and chronic illness. Epstein-Barr virus, which comes from mononucleosis, can also cause thyroid problems. Lyme disease, mold exposure, and long-term inflammation. All of these create an inflammatory cascade in your body that really make it hard for the thyroid to do what it's supposed to do. Your immune system is constantly activated, and it has to put out all these fires and sometimes gets out of control. Another reason is medication. Yes, medications, even though they're supposed to help you, they can cause side effects and issues in other parts of the body. Those groups can be SSRIs, birth control, steroids, proton pump inhibitors or PPIs, as well as lithium. If you're on those medications and you're working with someone on your thyroid health, just be very careful. Another reason of thyroid issues is the actual structure of the organ is affected. And you can test that with a scan or ultrasound, and there are ways to treat it that way as well. But if your actual organ and tissue is damaged, or you have some sort of birth defect related to the thyroid, that's another reason that someone will have a thyroid that doesn't function properly. And those are just the possible causes of hypothyroidism or low functioning thyroid. Now let's look at hyperthyroidism, what that looks like and what can cause it. All right, now for hyperthyroidism, you'll see that TSH tests under 0.5, and that's from the optimal range perspective. Over there, the brain starts to shut off thyroid hormone stimulation. There might be excess free T3 and free T4, which is just more thyroid hormone that's not necessarily needed. Your total T3, which is the beneficial active thyroid hormone, is also elevated, and your body can't use all of it. Symptoms of hyperthyroidism are things like anxiety, panic, insomnia, rapid heart rate, palpitations. You'll have heat intolerance. You're constantly going to be sweating or wanting to take off layers of clothes because you're uncomfortable. You might have weight loss despite eating enough food, tremors and shaking, loose stools, diarrhea, muscle wasting or feeling weak. Or you could have short menstrual cycles or even missed periods if you're female. Let's talk about the causes of hyperthyroidism. Again, we'll start with the autoimmune reason, and the autoimmune version of hyperthyroidism or overactive thyroid is called Graves' disease. Your autoimmune antibodies will be higher, which indicate your thyroid is overstimulated, and your thyroid continues to produce excess thyroid hormone. Things that can trigger Graves' disease are stress, Epstein-Barr virus, postpartum immune rebound, depending on the process. Sometimes happens in postpartum when your immune system is rebalancing, gut permeability, and iodine excess. Another cause of hyperthyroidism is thyroiditis, and there's different types of it. But basically, inflammation causes the stored thyroid hormone you have to leak out into the rest of the body. It's a short-term phase that can then be followed by hypothyroidism. So it's really fast and intense for a period of time, and then it's going to swing the pendulum in the other direction to be a lower functioning thyroid. Another cause of hyperthyroidism is taking in too much iodine. It's really rare that you're going to be told to supplement iodine by itself. Be aware of the iodine dose that you're taking if you are supplementing. Eating a lot of seaweed or kelp, certain medications can cause the increase of iodine as well. Now remember, iodine helps thyroid hormone production. And if you do too much thyroid hormone production, you're going to have an overactive thyroid. Another reason someone becomes hyperthyroid is over-medication, taking too much of a medication that you don't need the dose of, including thyroid hormone. Some people are over-medicated with thyroid hormone to the point that it's not actually helping, but making things worse. Another cause of hyperthyroidism is severe stress and sympathetic overdrive. So, sympathetic overdrive is that the sympathetic or the fight or flight part of your nervous system is overactive for a very acute period of time. This can happen if you drink too much caffeine chronically, if you train too much chronically, and it can happen in people with high levels of anxiety. It can happen with infections and inflammation, also like EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, long COVID, mold exposure, and any time that your immune system is chronically activated. So there we have it. Hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, what causes each of those. Now let's talk about ways to start to rebalance your thyroid. Your biggest action step for everybody across the board is get a full thyroid panel done with those markers that I listed at the beginning. You can ask your doctor, or you can use direct-to-consumer labs like I listed before. And be sure to keep track of your symptoms and your numbers over time so that you can see what symptoms are consistent. The second action step I'll give you is focus on nutrition. Eat real food. High quality protein, fiber, carbs, and fats with all of your meals, and do that consistently. Eat your dark leafy greens and sea vegetables will help you with those thyroid-loving nutrients like iodine and zinc and iron. All of those things will be so beneficial for you. Number 3, as you saw on both sides of the spectrum of hypo and hyperthyroidism, stress could be the culprit for both of them. So it's really important that you manage your stress. Stress is one of the foundations of health, and I did do an episode on that as well, on ways to manage your stress. And a lot of people think that stress is just something that happens to you, when you actually have more control than you think when it comes to your stress. You control your schedule. You can set boundaries to keep your schedule a schedule that's very beneficial for you to take care of your health. You can also set boundaries with other areas of your life. You can add into your routine stress-reducing times for breath work, for something that you enjoy doing, like a hobby, something relaxing, reading, playing music or listening to music, self-care like massages, taking a walk in the sunlight, and other nervous system regulation tools. This is a very underrated practice, but everyone should be doing it to keep their stress in check. I'll also say that if you have a history of chronic infections, or you've got immune flares, allergies, you always seem to be getting sick and you never feel like you're getting better, you have low-grade cough or fever, or just feeling like a low-grade level of sick all the time, I would recommend more advanced testing for things like Lyme disease, long COVID, Epstein-Barr virus, even mast cell activation syndrome, and other such hidden chronic infections. I also recommend, if you've got gut issues, to get a full stool test to see what's going on in your digestive system, and take care of your thyroid by taking care of your gut. And I want to wrap it up with a nice pretty bow on it with another way to help your thyroid is to nourish your body like it wants to heal, because it does. When you push your body to extreme limits of working out and restricting calories so much and pretending you're invincible, that's not nourishing your body and loving your body in the best way possible. It's not weakness to take breaks. It's not weakness to set boundaries. It's not weakness to give yourself rest. It's crucial to your healing. So pay attention to what's going on in your thyroid from the inside out. Your thyroid controls everything from energy to hormones to weight. You deserve the full picture, not just your labs are fine after a doctor looks at one marker. You have the right to ask for a full panel. You can even give the specific markers that you want to be tested. Part 2, we're going to talk about the autoimmune conditions related to the thyroid, which are Hashimoto's, or autoimmune low thyroid, or Graves' disease, autoimmune high thyroid function, and the causes of those, what the markers might look like, and what you can do to start working on it. In the meantime, please like and share this episode with a friend who might be dealing with thyroid issues, because it can be very beneficial for them. Go get those labs done, full thyroid panel. And if you wanted to get your thyroid labs done with me, you can send me a message at vanessa@connectedhabits.com on the email, at Connected Habits Coaching on Instagram. And you can use either of those to book a free consult with me just to see what it would look like to get those labs run and get working on rebalancing your thyroid. I want you to know that thyroid imbalances are not a permanent condition. And you don't have to wait until you get a diagnosis when your lab numbers are way out of whack to start getting help. You can actually start today. Thanks for listening to the Connected Health Podcast. I'll see you next time.